The governing body does an excellent job with encouraging young people to pursue full-time service, but they always seem to fail to mention this one very important aspect. Let's talk about it. Hey, and welcome back to Same OT. In today's video, I'm going to be picking up with another point that I feel was in that recent apostate video that is being shown at regional conventions of Jehovah's Witnesses this summer. And that third point is the governing body wants young people to pursue full-time service, but they never talk about the financial burden that full-time service brings. Okay, so don't want to make no assumptions. This could be someone's first time to the channel or someone's first time watching XJW type content. So what is full-time service? At the local congregation level, that would be someone who's considered a regular pioneer. Regular pioneers, last time I was in an organization, they preached 70 hours a month at a minimum or on average. But then you have what is really considered full-time servants of Jehovah's Witnesses, and that is your Bethelites. Those are ones who live, work at Bethel, which is in upstate New York now, here in America, to my knowledge. And then you have special pioneers, where at the time that I was a part of the organization, they preached 100 hours a month, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have missionaries. So these are ones who go through a special JW training or school, and then they go to different parts of the world. You have circuit overseers, I guess regional overseers is maybe what they call them now, but you have men who kind of oversee a group of congregations. So those are just some of them. But for this video, we're going to kind of focus more on missionaries as well as Bethelites. Okay, so in congregations and families of Jehovah's Witnesses, if your child is invited to become a Bethelite or a missionary, they're considered like spiritual heroes. And so I want you to keep that point in mind as we go through the video, that they are elevated because now you have been deemed especially, spiritual. You're not like your regular JW. You are a very spiritual JW kind of thing, right? And so in this case, because you've been glorified or labeled or marked as exceptionally spiritual, oftentimes it's painted that family and friends in the congregation see it as a spiritual privilege to be able to take care of you financially. Okay, so just remember all this as we go through the video. Okay, so before I get in my two examples of this spiritual privilege versus financial burden, right? Let's go back to the apostate video. And so if you've seen this video, you recall that for purposes to distinguish who's who, the weak witness couple talking to the spiritually strong witness couple's son, who's about to graduate from high school and this and that. So they say, hey, what's your plans? And he says, oh, I'm thinking about applying to Bethel. And they both kind of wiggle in their seat like, oh, no, not, the typical answer of applying to Bethel or pursuing Bethel. So both of them try to give him some practical advice, right? That you can still be a JW. You can, still have a full share in the ministry. But why don't you consider maybe going to school or just kind of setting yourself up so that you could be comfortable? And of course, the spiritually strong parents are like, they might as well been, the other couple might as well been, saying, hey, get on the streets and sell crack. Like, that's how they took it. And they would just point out like, hey, we have careers, but hey, we still serve Jehovah. But the impression from the video is that's not what you want to strive for. You want to strive for being a Bethelite. You want to strive for being a ministerial servant. You want to have this humble, meek existence. So that being said, let me get into my example. A little bit of story time now. So number one, there was a young couple who had gotten married young, right? I don't even think either one of them was 25 years old. The female had went to community college and became a registered nurse. The gentleman going to trade school and becoming, I guess, whatever it's called, like fully licensed electrician, like, you know, the real deal. And so they were working their careers, started to date, got engaged, got married, the whole thing. So they have a nice little comfortable life, right? They have a condo, they have 2 nice cars, you know, things of that nature. Definitely a spotlight, you know, couple in the congregation, right? Attractive, you know, all the things. So I think Brooklyn, Bethel had been sold yet or not, but I think they were starting to get things kicked off upstate. So they needed tradesmen, right? So this was their opportunity to get into Bethel. And that was being pushed on them because the female's family, you know, is like poster child JW kind of thing. And the guy's family was considered, you know, his dad was an elder. He was a ministerial servant. So, you know, they kind of had that whole generational JW thing going. They get the call, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it was supposed to be just a temporary thing, like maybe 6 months with the possibility of maybe getting extended, with the possibility of, you know, transitioning to a full-blown Bethelite. So when they went, everybody in the congregation is just excited, like they was going to meet Jesus. Okay, like that's how excited people was. And so I was like, okay, it's cool. They went for the first 6 months. He was doing his electrical thing, which is what he, you know, was trained to do. She, however, was in housekeeping. And I remember thinking, I done went through all this. Anybody who's ever gotten a nursing degree, LPN, RN, what have you, NP, you know, it's hard. That NCLEX is hard. Nursing school is hard. So to kind of be reduced to housekeeping, I would have felt the type of way. Like, you know, at least let me work in first aid or, you know, whatever. Anyway, 6 months come, I think maybe 3 months in, they had already gotten the tap on the shoulder, like, we're going to extend you. And so they end up staying, I think, like a full year. And then I think they actually end up transitioning, if I recall correctly, into full-blown Bethelites, right? So at this point, they had saved up. Right. So them first 6 months, I think the parents was helping a little bit with the condo and the car notes. Right. But then now it's a year in. And now parents are paying everything, because at Bethel, you don't make no money. You are working essentially for free. I want to say at the time, it was $150 they got a month. And sure, they wash your clothes and you get your meals and they cut your hair, you know, and that's why they always do emphasize, you know, living simple, so that if you decide you want to come to Bethel, you know, you understand that you need to kind of have your bills at zero. At least that's the picture the JWs try to paint as to why they, you know, another reason why they want you to really have little to nothing. So now they're up there. It looks like they're going to be there. So friends started including them in their monthly budget and sending them money. I became aware of this, and I'm talking to my older buddies. She's a, you know, senior citizen. And she's like telling me how it's a privilege and how she's sacrificing and taking away from this money to send them, I think, $50 to $100 a month, because they're at Bethel and they're doing Jehovah's work and they're at Bethel and Bethel. And I'm thinking, like, you over here on a fixed income. These two people decided to go to Bethel because they want to be elevated. Our congregation is organization. And you over here on the fixed budget, living in assisted living, feeling like it's a sacred privilege to send this money to them, right? So that they can kind of enjoy themselves a little bit more than what, you know, their stipend is allowing. And so it was others doing that. And so when I was kind of asked about it, I'm like, yo, I'm a single woman with a house and a car note myself. I'm gonna have to pass. I'm gonna have to pass on the GoFundMe, okay, before GoFundMe. And so I believe they may have been a part of that layoff, that big layoff, or they might have left. You know, JW is a secret. They don't never want to tell you the whole thing, so they'll let you kind of infer maybe what happened. So I can't remember if anyone told me if they were part of that big layoff that happened at Bethel, or if they did leave. So to my knowledge, they're both living in Texas, and because they do actually have skilled trades, I'm sure they're doing well. But for that time being, I can only imagine the financial burden on their parents. And they can't complain. The parents can't complain because their kids went to Bethel. Any good JW worth their, weight in what they say in salt, want their kid to go to Bethel, because a label you want to have, because it ends up being a reflection on you as a parent, right? My kid went to Bethel. That means I raised them right. They never got called to that back room. None of the things, right? So, have you all ever experienced that where you knew of someone who went to Bethel who might have had, real life expenses, and those parents or that family had to pick up the slack for them so that they could go live out their JW dreams at Bethel? And how did that work out? Times are hard. Times been hard for a long time. I don't know too many people who just got an overflow of money, right? So to take on someone's condo mortgage and 2 car notes in the name of religion, that's nasty work, as the young people say. So in that case, do you consider it a financial burden or spiritual privilege on the part of the families of those two, as well as the friends in the congregation who was given out of their fixed income money? All right, story time number 2. So knew of someone whose sister and brother-in-law became missionaries, right? They became missionaries. No, I take that back. They started off as special pioneers, and they were somewhere in like Montana, South Dakota, one of them places that most people don't know nobody who lived there. But so they started there as special pioneers, and they thought, I don't know if we're getting older. I don't know if we're going to get that tap on the shoulder to say, hey, because we want you to do this missionary work. Excuse me. So they was like, putting that special pioneer work in, it's a lot. Like I say, I think at the time I was in an organization, I think it was 100 hours a month. Might have been more than that. I'm not sure. They decided, you know what, maybe we need to have something to fall back on just in case we never get the call, right? So they go to, I believe, LPN school, both of them, husband and wife. They graduate, pass the NCLEX, and just as they about to start looking for jobs, and I think bump down to just regular pioneers and make a plan to come back closer to home, what happens? They get that tap on the shoulder, right? So now it's like, F our plans, we got to do Jehovah's plan, because we didn't got the tap. And they end up going somewhere in the Caribbean. And to my knowledge, they still there. So I can't blame them. South Dakota, North Dakota, wherever they was at, for where they at in the Caribbean, I would take it too. So what about all their expenses, right? Well, guess what? At they big grown age, which I want to say they had to be maybe, I think they might have been somewhere between early to mid 30s when that happened. So imagine them saying no, wasn't gonna happen. So what happened? that burden, and from my understanding, the husband was the only one in the organization. So his family, like, I ain't about to pay your bills while you go preach on some island. Nah. But the wife, her parents, her other female siblings, they were all in it. So they said, we're going to sign up and we're going to pay your bills, right? And they had taken out student loans, for school. They didn't have no car note, but they did have, I think, some credit cards, or one credit card or something like that. And that's what the family did. And so one of the sisters kind of carried the heavy burden because she was looked at as the one with the good, stable, well-paying job. And so I would be there sometime when she was getting goodie boxes together, and the sister would be calling saying, and get me some perm, and get me some this, and get me some that, and it's just like, yo, what you doing with your $150 every month? Not thinking to say, well, let me send $50 to cover the shipping or what have you. And so in my opinion, my humble opinion, I felt like it became entitled, because it's like, I'm a missionary. You just a regular publisher. You don't even pioneer or auxiliary pioneer. I'm making real sacrifices to Jehovah. So for you to send me $100, $200, goodie box, a few times a year, and pay off my student loans, whatever other debts that I have, you should be, consider it a privilege. And again, because you're not allowed to voice your concerns and things of that nature, I knew that the person was frustrated. I could tell, but she was never going to fully verbalize it, and when she would voice a little bit of frustration, it would just come off like as a joke. So you didn't say what you said, but then it's like you put LOL at the end. Now I know what you're feeling, because I would feel like, hey, you working hard for the Watchtower. You ain't working hard for me, but you putting me in a financial burden. I can't even get my hair done because I'm making sure your student loans don't go, in default mode. So yeah, it's just, those are just two examples of where I saw that the financial burden fell on the families or the friends in the congregation, whereas Watchtower itself has all this money. And I get it. They giving them housing. They giving them 3 square meals a day, washing their clothes, cutting their hair. But unless they gonna change the rules and say you must not have any debt, who do you think is gonna pick up the slack? Yeah, from my understanding, they so worried about, did you laugh at a crude commercial, in the last 6 months, or, did you listen to 2 lyrics in a rap song? Like, that's the stuff they concerned with. I don't know if they have a box on there that says, yes, I have no, financial obligations that will stop me from coming. I don't know. I ain't never applied to Bethel. And when I learned what Bethel was and went to visit Bethel, I was like, this like being in the military. No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want to get up when y'all say get up. I don't want to be cleaning, 200 rooms because you feel that I'm deemed to, just clean rooms, even though I might have a whole nother skill set. No, thank you. Not interested. So going back to the video, right? And you have the weak witness couple talking about, build up your finances, get you some security, be able to enjoy life a little bit, right? I think they even said, you might want to get married. You need money to be married, right? Especially if you supposed to be, hey, the head of the household. So, head of the household should, carry the bills, if you come from that frame of mind. And so you think about it, if that young man, I think they say he was graduating from high school, so you figure he about 18 years old. Let's say he finally get the call when he's 20. Maybe let's say he then got him a little part-time job from the time he finished high school to the time he get tapped on the shoulder to come to Bethel. So he might have a couple of little $1,000, saved up and this and that. But he goes, he's 20 years old, right? Let's say I don't know how it go, but let's say he meets somebody there and they get married. So I guess if they both was at Bethel, then they probably could stay, right? But what if he meets somebody who not at Bethel? Then what, he has to leave. So then if he's not trained in something, right? If he's not trained in something that can transfer to the real world, now he married with a wife, and blue collar jobs just ain't what they used to be. You can't just go to a warehouse like a Ford or a 3M or what have you, and get this job that can last you for 30 years, and you end up with a pension and you're able to afford a home, a car, and a picket fence. It just don't work that way. So now you in the hole. You are in the hole financially. So now you're married. You then sacrificed your youth or what have you, or however long you may be at Bethel, and what do you have to show for it? Oh, this is Mike, a former Bethelite. That's it. You don't have no money. You don't have no assets. You don't have none of those things. And so, when they pushing full-time service on these young people need to think about, as well as their families, what happens if my child goes and gives 30 years of their life? Let's say you go to Bethel at 20, and now you're 50 years old, and now they deem we don't need you. Go back. What did they tell the people? They didn't say we laying you off, but that's what it was. Go back because we feel that the congregations need your spiritual bounty, or whatever BS they told them. No, it was like, we laying off. We trimming the fat. You got to go. I feel for those people. I would love, if anybody know anyone who may have woken up after that experience that has a video out there, I would love to hear their experience. Or if it happens to be someone who left the Jehovah's Witnesses, if you were one of those people who got laid off, and I would love to interview you, because I would want to know, how did that feel? What did that show you? Kind of thing. And I'm sure when these people went back to their home congregations, if anybody still remembered them, especially if they went young or whatever the case may be, I'm sure somebody probably tried to help them, whether it was with a job or some resources or something like that. And, hey, God bless those people who did try to help them. But I wonder how many people was like, this is really effed up. These people that sacrificed and gave their life to you, and now you just gonna tell them go back and be an asset to your congregation? Yeah, okay, all right. At least with the Catholic Church, to my knowledge, when nuns and priests retire, right, or services no longer needed, or however they refer to it, they at least can live in the rectory, or at least still have their needs met. Do you know what I'm saying? For their sacrifice of, not getting married, not having children, not having a secular job, So this was just another point that I saw in that video. It was a bunch of points that I feel were communicated without being the spotlight thing, right? Everybody is picking up on, this is what apostates look like. This is what happens when when you know that you're in the midst of an apostate. This is what it will look like. Yeah. That's what Watchtower is hoping people, JWs, get, right? But for me, sitting there looking at it, I'm like, nope, they sending this message to XJWs, they sending this message to PMOs, that's how I saw it. So this is just something that I wanted to bring out, just because if you are a young person and they are pushing full-time service on you, just think about it. Think about long-term. What's your long-term plan? Because here's the thing. When people leave Bethel, now you got a stain on you. Because why are you leaving? Are you weak now? What will make you want to leave? I could see somebody being super zealous. They go, and from the videos I watched, Bethel ain't what people on the outside think. Bethel kind of low down and dirty, right? And people could be like, in order for me to stay a Jehovah's Witness, I gotta leave. I need to go back home. But yeah, then people are rumbling, and murmuring, as they used to say. Why are you back home? Did you get kicked out? It's, I don't know. It's like I said, it's just like the military. If you get a dishonorable discharge, it don't look good versus an honorable, right? Kind of thing. So it's like, what, you gonna stick around until Bethel lay you off just so you won't have that tag as to, oh my God, he's an ex-Bethelite, but he left. She left, kind of thing. So crazy. Anyway, I got probably one more video out of the apostate video that I want to make. So be on the lookout for that. If you like this video, please give us a like. Likes lets the algorithm know that more people may like this. And so YouTube will continue to push it out. If you like this kind of content and you're new to the channel, go and check out the playlist. There's tons of XJW content there. If you are not subscribed, come over here to the Real Ones Tribe. We are a great group of people. So hit subscribe. And also, if any of this does not resonate, you just think my shirt cute today, leave a comment, because commenting also lets the algorithm know that you engage with the content. And lastly, if there is someone that you think could benefit from this video, please share it. And until next time, I'm out. Peace.